Win Butler, welcome.
Thank you.
This is the third year that this game has actually occurred, right?
Yes,
So the
correct.
Roman numerals are there for a reason.
Yeah, it's the first. We took a year off last year because I was touring. I was halfway around the world. But yeah, the first year we won by 2 points. Last year, the Jock team won on a 3-pointer at the buzzer, and so I'm hoping that it'll be a tight match this year.
Okay, so with those two scores noted, is this kind of like a what is it, Washington Generals Harlem Globetrotters situation? Is there a
No, I mean the kind of the idea was to try and make it be a genuinely competitive game. So the Jock team is half current McGill and Concordia players, so half McGill players, half Concordia players, and then the Pop team is a team of musicians, supplemented by a couple ex NBA and ex European pro players. So the idea is that a couple of the people on our team are going to be much better than anyone on their team, but everyone on their team is going to be better than everyone else on our team. So it ends up
it's like
for
putting together a video game roster. Do you go for
kind of
one major strength or skill, or do you try having an all-around balance to your team? I like the
exactly.
approach. It works. So that
Yeah.
means that Brent Barry's on your team then, I assume?
Yeah, he's on
That's
our
really
team.
not fair.
Yeah.
Former NBA slam dunk contest winner. Granted, it was a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Also won a couple of rings, didn't he?
Yeah, with the Spurs, and Matt Bonner, who just won a ring this last year, is on our squad too.
How did you land him?
He's actually the person that I started doing the event with because
Okay.
he's. I met him and Brent at an Arcade Fire show in Austin years ago. We were about to go on, and someone was like, "These two really tall people want to meet you," and I don't think they knew that I was really into basketball, and so we kind of became friends. And there's not a lot of basketball. Basketball is definitely more of a hip hop dominated. The locker room, there's a lot more hip hop being played, so there's not a lot of dudes that are really into rock music.
That's true. I can imagine, actually any sports locker
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
Having been in a couple,
Yeah.
to hear Arcade Fire would be a little bit different. That's
Yeah.
kind of funny. This has been a passion of yours your whole life, though, right? I mean, you have, let's face it, you have the genetics.
Yeah,
What is your height, actually?
I'm
Your playing height?
6'5",
Okay. We won't get into your weight. That's not specific here. But,
6'5", 220.
and good under the post?
Well, I grew up in Houston, Texas, during the Houston Rockets won a couple championships, and Akeem Olajuwon,
Hakeem, yeah.
who's a Nigerian player. I think he was the first non-American to win MVP.
Yeah,
And
you're right, man.
and defensive player of the year, and he's kind of still my all-time hero. I grew up watching him play a lot, so that's kind of where I got, if you're 15 and the hometown team wins the championship, it's kind of
They are yours for
bigger
life,
than the
right?
Beatles, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're kind of yours for life.
There's that loyalty thing that comes into play.
Yeah.
And that's why people still like really awful teams or franchises in any sport right
Right.
now, because they won, years and years ago. That was true
Yeah.
with the 49ers through much of the 90s.
Yeah.
A lot of 49ers fans, you wonder why. Oh, because they won some championships with a guy named Montana.
Yeah, well, it's better than Chicago when it's been 110 years.
Well,
It
that's-
starts to get a little bit
That's true.
difficult.
That's true. And then on the flip side, being a Sox fan, before they became annoying to be a Sox fan,
Yeah,
you had that thing where, well, they haven't won, so that's why I'm a fan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the contrarian position.
willful insanity.
Exactly. So did you start playing in high school? You must have played in high school.
I played in high school. I started playing maybe fifth grade, fourth grade, and I played in high school, and then I went to art school initially, and kind of was doing mostly music, and I kind of got back into basketball in my kind of mid-20s, and kind of got more into it then than I was in high school, because I kind of played in high school because I was tall,
Yeah.
and then later in life, I reconnected to the kind of mental part of the game, and like I found facets of the game that I got out of it that I didn't get out of it when I was being forced to play.
And let's face it, as a teenager, there are other things going on as well, which
Yeah.
you probably takes away from your focus.
Yeah.
The important parts of the game. It's Picard here for Rockman. We're chatting with Win Butler of Arcade Fire about Pop versus Jock 3 happening tomorrow, Saturday at 2:30. $20 gets you in for the charity basketball game with the Pop Stars against it's really not even against. You kind of, like you said, you're kind of mixing and matching the players. A balanced team against a really good team. Is that good? A team with stars versus a balanced team.
This year we have Justin Vernon from Bon Iver is on our team. Who, it's funny, he was living in Montreal for a while before Bon Iver. He was dating a girl from here, and so I've actually played basketball with him before we knew each other. Were in bands or
professionally.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends like that I've met on the court, and you find out that they're musicians later. So yeah, I've played with guys, the guys from the Strokes. A couple of them are coming up.
Nick is playing. Who else is playing?
Oh, Nikolai is playing this year. The bass player from the Strokes. Yeah, so it's my brother who also plays. He's going to be on the pop team.
He'll be on the pop team now. Yeah. So when you're growing up, you and your brother, did you play together, or did you?
We were 2.5 years apart, so we never played on the same team.
Was there competitive infighting going on in the Butler household?
Not in basketball, so much, because we were kind of separate. But
did you both
played together more?
New Hampshire, or no?
We both. So we went to public school through 9th grade, and then we went to boarding school in New Hampshire, but at different times. So we were both there at different times.
Oh, okay. And you played there though, right? Competitively?
That's where I played. I played on the team there 3 years.
What's your position? Your natural position?
I'm kind of a stretch 4.
Okay. The most points you ever scored in a competitive game? Do you even know off the top of your head? Outside of this?
I don't know, mid-high 20s.
Okay. Was it a competitive team at Phillips when you played there?
Yeah, I mean, it was, you'd play teams, it was kind of all over the map, because there were certain teams that were there's certain boarding schools that are kind of feeder athletic schools. So we definitely played teams where like all 5 players on the other team were going to Division I schools.
Okay.
But it was kind of mixed, because you'd get postgraduates that played, they had graduated high school and they go for an extra year.
Right.
And so you'd get kids that were a little bit older on every team.
Never good.
And we would play against like the Harvard JV team. Like we'd play against like Ivy League teams, junior varsity teams as well. So,
which is significant considering it's the only big time NCAA sport which is they can actually be good at.
Yeah.
Competitively as far as a team sport's concerned.
Yeah. Well, they're good now. Harvard. I mean, they post Jeremy Lin. Yep. I actually remember watching Jeremy Lin nearly got them into the NCAA tournament, and no one knew who he was. I was like, what is Harvard like doing? Almost being in the tournament? I was like, oh, this Jeremy Lin kid's actually pretty good.
Well, it's an automatic berth if you win the Ivy, though, and that's the thing. And I think they were a 12 seed last year, weren't they, in the tournament?
Yeah, they won. They won in the first round. I think they might have won two games. Actually, my 5th grade coach played at Princeton,
huge program,
which kind of has a famous the Princeton offense. Kind of, they actually make some noise every once in a while. So that's kind of what I grew up kind of learning to play, was a former Princeton player. Smart
basketball, basically, is what it comes down to.
Pretty much, yeah.
You're not just going out and banging. It's Win Butler from Arcade Fire talking some sports. Now, it's one of those things I was thinking when I saw this charity game a couple years ago, thinking who actually could make out a pop roster, because it's one of those things. It like you said, you've been on the basketball court meeting musicians.
Mm-hmm.
I've come across quite a few musicians who are actually into basketball.
Yeah.
And not just in watching as being, a Lakers fan or anything, but actually who can ball. Doug Marsh comes to mind first and foremost from Built to Spill.
Yeah.
Only because of the detached retina. And the fact that if you looked at Doug Marsh, you would never think that he had any athletic endeavors, whatsoever.
I've never played with him, but I've heard that he's good.
He's really good.
Yeah.
Like he's actually, I've talked to other people about him, and he's really, really good. Honestly, I don't know if he's playing competitively, quote unquote, anymore because of the detached retina, which he got playing basketball.
Right. That's a brutal injury.
It is really.
Didn't Amari Stoudemire get that injury?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a terrible injury.
And it's one of those injuries that sounds like it's painful as well.
And you don't want to mess around with the follow-up injury to that, which is not having your eye work.
It's not a good place to be. Certainly not. Are there any musicians that you have on a wish list to get into this tournament at some point? Or this game at some point down the line? Or?
Yeah, I've played with Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam, and he wasn't able to make it this year, but we've played together, and he's a really competitive player, like really physical, good player. I really wanted to get Kanye down. That's definitely on a wish list.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Is Ament the best player in Pearl Jam? I mean, this is a band who named themselves after a basketball player in Mookie Blaylock.
Yeah, he's the only real.
Oh, he's the only one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the only one who really seriously plays.
So Ament and Kanye. Who else? Anybody else on this wish list?
On the wish list, I'm trying to think like who else is really on my wish list. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people say they play, and then you play with them, and they don't really play.
Okay. Wow, this is competitive then.
Yeah.
Carrying some sort of chip on your shoulder with this. One of the guys, I mentioned musicians that I was surprised to find out. Roger Waters.
Okay.
He's got the height, obviously.
Yeah.
But he used to actually bring a hoop on tour with him.
Well, I probably should have consulted you before.
No, I don't think that's necessary, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those weird
I'd be
things.
surprised. He's getting up there.
He's not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
No, clearly he's not doing it anymore. This is probably a long time ago.
My
but just the same.
parents live in rural Maine, and I always played the Y when I'm there. And there are these two. There's a guy who's 75 and a guy who's 70 that play 3 or 4 times a week, and they just guard each other. So it's like 4-on-4, and they just never
Two
stop
guys
jogging.
dancing.
They never stop jogging. They just jog down the court. They'll take a pass it, shoot it through open.
That's
and you can
fantastic.
have an entirely competitive game. And these two dudes just guard each other, and it's awesome. And it kind of gave me hope because you think of basketball as like once you hit your 40s, 50 at the outside, it's like you got to shut it down. But
At least they're not golfing, I mean, they're actually
they're
out there.
really playing. They're playing like 3 or 4 times a week, and and they just guard each other.
And they're going home and telling stories at dinner and around, their wives and family and stuff. Oh, I had to play today. I played a game, and you had no idea just how awful it was. But they're really going out there and just dancing. Do you are you into fantasy sports, or are you not into fantasy
no,
sports?
not at all. I mean, I have a child now. Like the idea of spending time on fantasy sports, I just can't.
That's
relate
true.
to.
That goes out the window when you have it. Yeah,
I
when you
just
have offspring.
I can't do it. I think it would. Yeah.
It is quite the thing though. At this point in time, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
So I figured I would ask, knowing that you're into this. Are there any other sports that are close to basketball for you, or is it just hoops and that's it? I don't even talk about now, but like if you do have free time and.
Not really. I love to play ping pong. That's my other main sport.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's an Olympic sport now.
Yeah.
Sport.
Yeah.
Kind of a relative term there, but
Yeah.
that's
I
an interesting
played
one.
I played tennis, but I kind of stopped because I try to save all my injuries for basketball now because just different types of injuries that you get.
And growing up outside of Houston, football never really entered the.
Thank God, no. I mean, I think people wanted me to play at one point, and you just get a bad tackle and you're 15 and you have a bad knee the rest of your life. I'm just like every day I'm grateful to my parents for not letting me play football.
Did they want you to play quarterback with the height or no? Or tight end?
Yeah, probably quarterback or tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would have been pretty good, but I'm really grateful that I didn't play. I actually think baseball was probably the sport that had the greatest skill at, but I didn't like it, so I didn't really pursue it.
You didn't like the game.
It was the easiest for me initially. Like
Naturally.
I was like, oh, I get this. Like naturally.
Yeah.
But,
and what position did you play there? 6'5", you make a good person on the bump.
Yeah, I played mostly first base or third base.
Okay.
Yeah.
Having played first base for the second part of my life,
Yeah.
It's only because I only had a stick
Yeah.
and had no throwing whatsoever. But
Yeah.
I'm assuming your throwing is better than that. That's obviously third to first. Obviously, if you're playing third, you've got a great arm. If you're playing first,
It just wasn't my sport.
not at all.
Yeah.
Favorite sports memory? Is it those championships for the?
Yeah, I mean, being 14 or 15 and Akeem winning the Rockets winning the championship, you just like it was the first championship in the city of Houston, so it was crazy. Like people were just fireworks and people like going crazy in the streets and Akeem was I know about African music because of Akeem. Everything I know about
Really?
Just Nigeria, like he just played so different than anyone else. The way he moved, the way he played, it just made me be interested. It's like, where is this guy from? Like, what's his deal? Like, like I know about Fela Kuti because of Akeem,
Wow. Was he? He wasn't the most outgoing guy. Was he a celebrity in Houston at the time?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He was. Did he play up to that, or was it reluctantly?
He played at the University of Houston as well.
Yeah.
I think he was a little wilder when he was young, and then he converted to Islam
Right.
at one point, added the H.
That's kind of the vision that I have of him. So
Yeah.
that's why I was
Yeah,
wondering.
he's a peaceful guy. I met him actually at the All-Star game last year. It was awesome.
And it's the first time you met him.
He looks like he could play now. Like all the rest of the guys have kind of let themselves go a little bit, and they have the big suits, and they're a little bit overweight. And Akeem just looks like he could just lace him up and go play right now.
It'd be great if you could get Barkley out here.
Yeah, Barkley's amazing.
Totally entertaining as well.
Absolutely entertaining.
Outside of Houston, who was your favorite player outside of Olajuwon? If you had to pick one, like this is going back, so we're talking Well, that was the late '90s, right?
Well, I mean, I guess I'd have to jump for. I mean,
So the Celtics,
Regine and I
Lakers days were done.
I got Regine into watching basketball during the Steve Nash years
Okay.
in Phoenix, because that team would score like 130 points and was really exciting. And
Yeah.
so I guess, and then the kind of, the Celtics a couple years ago with Rondo and Garnett and Pierce and Ray Allen, we watched a lot of those games in our house too.
It was an easy team.
Steve Nash probably was like, watching Steve Nash got Regine into basketball, so because it was just so entertaining.
Okay, and that's interesting considering he's the everyman.
Yeah, I mean,
basketball.
for a kid from Vancouver Island to be a 2-time MVP is pretty mind blowing.
Now he's stuck on a team with a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah. He's got a lot of problems too
with the Lakers, but age is going to catch up to him. Anyway, this event is happening, Pop versus Jock 3, on Saturday at 2:30 in the afternoon. Was it Sunday the last couple of years, or has it always been Saturday?
That's information I don't have in my memory banks
because I can't remember either.
I don't know what day.
For some reason, I thought it was Sunday, and you're going up against my football in that regard. Proceeds go to benefit DJ Sports Club. Yeah, this is an organization which helps kids 7 to 17.
Yeah, so I've always played in leagues, and this guy Dexter Johns runs a lot of the leagues in Montreal, and getting to know him over the years, he also has all these after-school programs and sports programs for kids in the Little Burgundy area, and yeah, he just really provides an incredible service in a really underserviced part of Montreal, and it's just the work is really great and really important.
So 2:30, and then there's an after party.
Yeah, so me and James Murphy from LCD Sound System are DJing after party at the SAT that night, so like 10 o'clock, something like that.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Roughly. And there's a halftime show from what I understand as well. What can you say about the halftime show?
We have A-Track and Kid Koala are doing something, who are two of the greatest DJs in the history of, turntables.
In Montreal as well.
In Montrealers, yeah. And I'm gonna do some kind of musical performance. I'm hopefully gonna get the Bonner Brothers to do some kind of musical performance, and we'll have some special guests as well. It's gonna be kind of, we've had in the past, we had David Byrne played the halftime show, so it's pretty high standard. The halftime show.
A lot to live up to without the pyrotechnics, though, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
All right, Pop versus Jock 3 happens at McGill University Sports Center on Saturday at 2:30 to benefit DJ Sports Club. Win, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.